Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the, let's see, October the 12th, 2023. I didn't stumble on that too bad. I usually stumble right from the get-go, when we talk about these, but welcome to the October meetup for Southern Fried DNN. We typically have this on the third Thursday of every month, but we had to shift it just a little bit this month to accommodate some vacation plans, presenters. I'm going to blame it all on you, Jeremy, because it was your
Right.
fault, right? I mean, didn't you say something about it? No, I think it was me actually.
No, you
Um,
moved me.
yeah. No, I'm actually going on vacation next week. That is quite a foreign concept in my world typically, but actually doing it. So don't try to call me next week. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, cool. We're good with that. Now, welcome everybody. For those of you joining online after the fact, welcome. Sorry that we're not in a time zone that can work for you, but if you ever can join us live, please do, because we do have a little bit of fun here live, but we do appreciate all the audience after the fact as well. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll dive right in to a few things. Hey, Steve, welcome. Let's see here. Hopefully I'm sharing the right screen. Today we're going to eventually get to Jeremy Ferentz. He's going to join, not join, no, he joined so that he can present on a really cool topic. Evidently, it's DNN's best kept secret. So he's going to let the cat out of
An
the bag.
opinion.
And so looking forward to that, but we'll circle back to that in a few minutes. Let me jump into a few community things just in case you have been living under a rock and didn't know about these few events coming up. We do have DNN Summit that is once again going to be a virtual conference. Ryan Moore's not here tonight, by the way. He had a conflict with this particular night. We just couldn't coordinate all the schedules that need to be coordinated for this one. So I'm kind of pinch hitting for him. He knows a whole lot more about this conference than I do at this point, but I know he covered it last month. So if you want some deeper dive details about it, check out last month's. Let's see, that would have been what's before October, September meetup out on YouTube. You can check out the video there and get some details. But the conference is coming up February 7th and 8th of 2024. You may think, man, that's a ways away. Why are we talking about it? Well, I mean, you might have already submitted sessions for it and you're kind of waiting to see if you get selected as a speaker. So that's one reason to kind of be talking about it now. Another reason is to register early because the more people that register earlier, the more they can plan for really cool stuff for the event. And I'm sure they will be announcing speakers. I don't know what the timeline is for that. I wish I'd found out from Ryan beforehand, but I kind of forgot. But I'm assuming they're going to be announcing those pretty quickly, or maybe they'll extend the submission time. So if you didn't get a submission in for speaking at the conference, there's still hope. Maybe we'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe they'll open back that for submissions there. It's usually a good conference in the sense of content and those are presenting. This being virtual, it goes through the Hop-In platform, which is a good digital platform really for events, and you can kind of communicate with people during the conference, and they have breakout rooms, and those are kind of fun when you can meet with somebody. They have like a round robin type thing where you can go in, you don't know who you're going to meet with, but you get a few minutes to meet. It's kind of like speed dating, but for the conference. Not really dating, I guess. I mean, I suppose you could use it for that. I mean, depending on your situation in life, but hey, never know. Might be able to meet a DNNer and have a happily forever after that way. But yeah, content's usually good. It's usually a wide range of content from design to development to administration, and everything in between and around. Also, there's another event that has been announced for 2024, and that is the one that's over on the other side of the pond from here where we are right now, and closer to you guys, don't you over there. This one's going to be again in Champery, Switzerland. We were there in 2023, but this one's going to be around the same time frame. I think it was the end of May time frame for the last one, and this one's going to be May the 23rd through the 26th. That is always a fantastic event. Of course, that one's in person, and it really, I mean, there's a lot of great presentations and content. I mean, the last one in 2023 was by far the best one that I have been to so far. It was really fun. A lot of great content, just a lot of great collaboration. It was positive vibes everywhere. Plus, we get to be social and, and hang out and have a few of your favorite libations and sit around and have some great food. And of course, the great scenery, because in Switzerland, I mean, you can't turn around without seeing beauty everywhere you turn. But that one is coming up, and I don't know if they have opened up registration for this yet or not. Let's click on here and see. We'll experience live here. I do not see a registration link just yet, but I'm assuming that'll be coming fairly soon-ish, before the end of the year. So be on lookout for there at DNN or DNN-connect, sorry, .org. Let's see what else has happened since the last time we met. DNN 9.13.0 was released 2 weeks ago. So this is a minor release. A few reasons for the minor release, but you can check out the release notes out on GitHub. You can also go to the DNN community site. I'll show this because it's been a while since I've shown this, but if you go to dnncommunity.org and then go to resources, there's a DNN releases page right here, and it's essentially pulling right from GitHub, so it's a little bit more, yeah, a little more friendly to website viewing for that. Those of you that don't spend a lot of time on GitHub or something, but the same information is here, and it links out to the various places on GitHub. But we can take a look at this and see kind of what is included in this release. So far, knock on wood, I haven't heard a whole lot of issues with this release. Of course, in classic fashion, some people don't test until after the release for some reason instead of testing before the release. So I'm sure some people have gotten a few little surprises here and there, and we'll see some things trickle in. But so far, so good. It's got quite a bit in it for those. Let's see, I think we covered a lot of what was going to be in it last month. So again, you can watch last month's meetup if you want to get some more details on that. But I think the highlights, if I remember correctly, for major things included is the new provider for MailKit for OAuth connection, I believe is what it was for. You could connect it to Office 365 or what was the other one? I think it was Google. Can't remember exactly what it is. Sorry, I'm not doing very good, but you can read this PR right here for more details. Here, I'll just open it up. I don't use this feature to like ever. So there is the issue here. Okay, so it is for, yeah, so the main driver was because basic authentication was being disabled for Outlook and several other platforms or ways of connecting with Office 365 or Exchange. And this will allow you to use OAuth authentication with those platforms there. And I was completely wrong about the Google. I guess this is just Office 365, Exchange, Outlook type accounts. Sounds like there's quite a few hoops to jump through to actually get that working. I have not done it myself, so I can't speak to it too much. I know Daniel tried to do a few things to test it out, but because of Microsoft's wonderful login challenges when you have multiple accounts and things like that, sometimes it's quite hard to get things, all the handles jiggled just the right way to be able to do that. But that's included in this release. If we go back over here, there was something else too. Is this the one where we had the file upload fixes in it? I think it is. Yeah. So now there was some bugs in the way that up where you set the max upload size in DNN wasn't handling a lot of that math under the hood correctly, and that's been fixed now, as well as keeping it from touching certain settings that it really shouldn't have been touching to start with. So that's been done, and a few other bug fixes and enhancements. some stuff with the CKE or CK editor in there as well. And Daniel, now that you're on computer, let me know if I missed anything that you would like to highlight in 9.13.0.
I missed a bit of it, but mainly the mail provider and dependency updates and bug fixes.
That sounds about like what we did, but you said it a whole lot quicker and easier than I did. So that's awesome. So I guess it's a good segue. I don't know if you're ready or not, Daniel, but I would love for you to share a little bit, if you're ready, about some recent stuff that's been done on DNN elements. And before you start on that, just a kind of reminder for those that may not have caught, I don't remember if it was last meetup or the meetup before that or the meetup before that, we were talking about this, but we kind of went through what is currently being planned for DNN 10. And we've been kind of working towards the DNN 10 for a while now. And I don't know, we may see another minor release, may see more patch releases of 13 before we get there. But I will say that I think we're getting closer. We still got a long ways to go, but we're getting closer. And one of the areas that has honestly been a project for how many years now, Daniel, quite a bit, is this one DNN elements. You've probably heard us talk about it in some shape, form, or fashion over the last few years, but this is a web components library that will not be included per se in DNN 10, but it really is something you can use today, but you also will be able to leverage it even more in DNN 10 in the sense of some of the things that Daniel will be talking about. But CSS variables will be coming to DNN 10 for a lot of basic styling stuff. And this already is leveraging that. So we've been kind of talking a little bit about how we're going to raise awareness about this project. So I say that to say that we need everybody's help in raising awareness about this. If you don't know much about this, then we'll try to do a better job of explaining it more frequently and more often and more succinctly, but we'll try to get some information as we lead up to the DNN 10 to try to help people understand how they could leverage this in various contexts. So it may be within a custom module, it may be just on a page in a Razor host module that you use if you're still using Razor host. It may be within Too Sexy, it may be within open content, but you can leverage these web components in multiple contexts to do that. But Daniel, you've been working on something kind of cool recently here. Do you want to share a little bit on that?
Sure. Here, screen tree. Okay, so it is like David explained, it's a project that is web components. So they're framework agnostic. They're native HTML components. So think about it as an HTML paragraph. You can use it anywhere. You can use it in Razor. You can use it in React or Angular. So it's that level of low level component that you can use everywhere. So you can use this in web forms and everything. It is an NPM package. So on NPM, if you search for DNN elements, you're going to see like a couple of them. I started this as a private project, then put it public, and then switch it over to DNN community for better visibility. We currently have one for React. It's not different. It's just it has the React wrappers around it. So React developers have less boilerplate to put in place to React is kind of strange as it comes to pure events and stuff. So that hides the boilerplate code you would need to make it work in React. It lives under the DNN community GitHub organization. It's open source, MIT. And we have a storybook here that showcases the elements themselves, like a design book, if you will. And the whole idea, what David was explaining, it's not tied into DNN any specific way. It's not something special about DNN 10. You can use them today. What's going to happen in DNN 10 is that currently that blue comes from a color definition from CSS variables, which is global to the whole thing here, and it's defined as this blue. Now, if I, as this blue. So that's my primary color. So if my branding colors are green instead of blue, I can simply change that CSS variable, and that would apply to all the buttons, all the input fields, all the tabs, and what have you that uses the primary color. So what's gonna come in DNN 10 is that these will be available as part of DNN, and it will be easy to customize your branding colors and your preference for square or rounded controls. We want to keep this limited. We want to keep this minimal, not try to define too much, but having names that are not necessarily tied into the color. So we don't have a variable that defines red or yellow. We have warning and danger. Try to keep it as abstract as possible and as minimal as possible. Um, this is what's going to be new in
but also
the
being
end.
able, to support better, like for contrast and things like that. So if you had a dark version or something you're working with, you got both a light and a dark and a contrast color to be able
Yes.
to work with that color. So kind of a color system, if you will.
Yeah. So one of the things that we need to build for DNN10 that's on the way, it's not finished, is a way to easily change those colors. So in the latest last Friday, right? Last week,
Last week.
we already had, it was one of the first components we built as a proof of concept that we were going in the right direction with
Color picker.
web components,
Yeah,
was the color picker here. So this is a color picker that's going to be the same no matter what browser. It's very different, the one that's provided from browsers, from one browser to another, and some browsers don't even have that as an input type. So we created one here. It has a lot of test coverage and stuff. It gives us RGB and hex values and HSL values, um, as well as being able to copy the hex code and stuff. But it's a big piece of UI, so we're going to need a lot of them into whatever module we create to manage the color system. A couple weeks earlier, we created wrappers around the HTML input element, which normally is used to input text or an email or a number, but it's not designed. So our DNN input maps almost one-to-one with the same properties you would use on the plain HTML input element, but wraps it into a box which supports having having a label and having a help text in a compact fashion that is way more easy to put into responsive modules than we had with the DNN UI UX experience. So this, you can flex it, you can put it in a grid, you can put it next to other controls that are not necessarily similar to this without having to worry about the label and the help text, because now they're one thing instead of being multiple elements. And it's based a little bit on the material design. So when I click to input something, my label, which was a placeholder, now becomes the label on top. And if it's empty, then it acts as its placeholder. And it's used almost exactly like a DNS, like a normal HTML input. So it could be a number type, in which case you get the normal number things and validation. It could be an email. So if I type something that's not an email, I have feedback. I didn't write any code for the feedback, so it's built into the field, which is really cool because usually there's a lot of boilerplate going with validation. You can also have a regex, let's say for a US phone number with validation. They can be used only to display, like blocking the edit. Um, yeah, stuff like this. Oh, it supports a prefix and a suffix. So that's kind of cool if it's a number field for an amount, or a percentage or something. So last Friday we put together, we also have, hold on a second, select. We also have a select that is styled exactly the same, but instead of being an input field, it's a dropdown. So we can use them together in the forms with them looking right next to each other. And last Friday, we decided to, for the color element, to combine the ideas of the DNN input and the color picker. And now we have a color input, basically. So that allows me to, whoops, this wouldn't happen for Reels. It's because it's in Storybook. Let me go.
There you go.
Yeah, because we're inside an iframe here in Storybook. So there we go. So now we can pick a color and we have a preview on the bottom, which doesn't sound very useful because we already have a preview here, but the other ones will show why it's there. We can obviously have a label and help text, but not only can you pick one color, but you could decide you want to pick a background and foreground color. So if it's set up for that, then you can pick what goes behind and what goes in front of. So that's why we have a preview here, like this is really low contrast. I need a lighter color for this thing. And with the color system we're putting in place, we're gonna have a light, a normal, and a dark, and the contrast. So we want to be able to provide an experience where you can preview all that in one go. And that's why we have that preview there. And of course, we can copy paste colors between those things. So that was this Friday. Another new one that's here that I don't think we have mentioned in this meeting, it dates from a couple of weeks ago, but we also have a rich text editor component now. It's not a replacement for the DNN HTML module. Don't get me wrong here. Right now you could put images, but they are part of the HTML. They're a URL encoded string that's getting part of the content. We don't have a file browser and file upload or anything. It could potentially be wrapped into a DNN module, but in your extensions, if you need rich text editing, then this is now available. It's a one-liner to use it, and you can have more or less toolbar items. And if you disable source code editing, then you cannot do anything else than what the toolbar allows.
So you may be asking yourself, well, okay, that's all great, but if it doesn't replace the HTML editor, how might I use this? Well, you can use it. You just kind of have to roll your own handling of the content. So for instance, you could write a simple module that uses this component, and it could actually write to the HTML text table if you want to. And then you have your own editor. It's just that you wouldn't be uploading, files and images to the DNN directory per se, unless you wired that up yourself and did it. Now, this could be used as a base to be able to create a replacement for the HTML editor provider. But that is a fairly tall order for anybody that's ever looked at that code. And that's why it's not been done so far.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much a mess, but this is really cool. I mean, you can use this today. It's not just for show, right? You could really use this for something.
Yeah. And we have been using it in multiple modules already.
Cool.
Actually, most of these components were created for a real world need. Let me build this, but let me not have to rebuild every time I need this in the future. So every one of these components came from a specific need on a specific module somewhere.
And that's a great example of how to take it's how the commercial world and open source world can work really well together, because as a client may need something for a particular project, you can get their permission to build something like this, because you're gonna have to build it anyways for the project, and maybe they're willing to let you contribute that as an open source component or something like this. And this is a really good example of what that can lead to. You've done a fantastic job with these.
Thank you.
Very cool stuff. Let's see here. I think that's it for the community announcements that I have. I mean, of course, always go check out dnncommunity.org. There's new blog posts out there quite frequently, as well as a lot of activity in the forums. I know I have been seeing pull requests galore coming in for the forms module. So I know there's just a lot of activity over there, people contributing over there to make that a better experience for people. So, if you're not traditionally a forms person, but you would like to kind of check it out. You'll probably see a lot of improvements in that area on the community side. Of course, that's open source module too that you can use for your projects and your sites and your client sites. So be sure to check that out as well. So I didn't start sharing again because why don't we just turn this thing over to Jeremy? Jeremy's going to talk a little bit tonight about DNN's best kept secrets. So please do let the cat out of the bag, Jeremy. Go for it. And you're muted. And you're still
Shot. Shot.
shot.
We don't read lips.
You're still muted.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, there we go. Now we can hear you.
How do I turn that on permanently? Where did the thing go? Oh, it's way up there.
Zoom likes to confuse you by moving things into different places.
No, it moved it onto the other screen and all the way up to the
Mm.
top. And I'm like, what the? All right, now you can hear me, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So I'm going to start off by showing you one of my little side projects that's making more progress than I expected. See these buttons here? They're all DNN elements, but this is someone else's project. This is Upendo's DNN user manager. And I liked it so much, I kind of dove in and started rewriting it. And I got further along than I expected to. So just to show you here, we're going to very quickly install on the page. I just want to show them to you side by side. Here's what it looks like normally. Yeah, this is how you put a module on a page in case anyone's watching and has never done that before.
Until you find out that you didn't log in the DNN and you didn't touch it in the last 20 minutes, right? You're like, oh no.
All right, so now you're seeing some stuff because they have it tied to Bootstrap 3 stuff. Their icons are coming from Glyph icons, which is also a Bootstrap 3 technology. So to see this properly, I need to switch you back to Silicon, or however pronounce that. Cillian?
That's a
Cillian?
new one for me. I've heard
Yeah.
it pronounced many things in the past, but Silicon has not been one of them. That's awesome.
All right, I think I had Cylons on my mind from Battlestar Galactica. So,
Figured you would watch the Transformers movie recently or something, you know, and you Silicon.
oh, I can't believe
Rubicon.
this got recorded, and I said that out loud. All right, there we are.
Did I just say that out loud?
Yeah, that's my thank you. Well done. I will do no title, doesn't matter. Okay, so
Where minimal theme is there too. Nice. I'm popular.
I know. Yeah, I played with that a few times. So now here's what it originally looked like, and it was kind of bulky. It just seemed odd, and I wanted to start, things like this weren't making sense to tell people, no, you're not a super user. That's not the kind of thing you communicate normally. So we wanted to be able to use this with our clients. We want it to be the kind of obvious self-learning thing, and that's what we're working on is a rewrite. I've lost my screen already. Where is it? Oh, I know where it went. It's back here. No, it's not. I lost my window.
Oh no.
Hang on one second, and I'll bring it back up.
Marco Polo.
But I thought it was an interesting piece to show because you were just showing DNN elements, and it's actually nice, very usable component library. I did very little modifications, and the only thing that I couldn't do, and I hopefully will be able to add my own contribution to, is these drop downs. I was not able to control their height, so that needs something from the outside because they're I can't control the height of those, and I need some way to do that. So hopefully that's something I'll be able to figure out how to do and contribute. But otherwise,
that is the DNN input.
Yeah, it's the drop down.
DNN select.
Yeah, the DNN select basically.
Exactly. Thank
and you wanted it to be the same size as the search, right?
you. Exactly.
So the search is flat. They're all flexible. So if you make that display flex, you can have them to be the same height.
That's perfect. You know what? I'll probably be in the open source Discord thing tomorrow, which we should
Cool.
announce, by the way. And I'll ask you
Oh
about that
yeah.
with my code on screen and see if I can pull that off, because I would
Yeah.
very much like that before I
Yeah.
throw this in as a contribution.
They
Jeremy, go
are,
ahead
they
and
are,
announce that.
yeah.
So you'll notice I've also got icons now. Instead of saying super user, we're now saying status.
Or not.
Or not.
Yeah, or not.
We're now saying status, and I'm showing this guy's not authorized. This guy's a super user, and you can hit edit and see that clearly in here. Is deleted
Nice.
off, approves off, is super users on. So there's more stuff I want to do, but this is working better with one of my clients.
Mm.
And I'm gonna try and take this further, so I actually feel like for once I get to do an open source contribution. Yay.
Awesome. Yeah,
And
the
DNN has
input
been
one,
awesome.
the input ones are inherently bigger because they support a label, and we want them to have the same height on the form. So yeah, well, and Fridays we do open source co-coding sessions, which is at 1 p.m. on Discord. So yeah, we can
1 p.m. Eastern.
That'd be cool. All right,
Mm.
yeah, and there's all kinds of cool stuff in here. I have my own little thing that I want to become a DNN element using the detail summary HTML element. So where all my debugging it gets tucked away. Of course,
Cool.
nobody sees that because I changed true to false and it compiles without it. So anyhow, so now on to my presentation, which is about the best kept secret in DNN. And that is called CodeDOM. Basically, the reality is the C# you're using in DNN, whether you're writing code with .cs files, you're doing ASCX files, and you got inline code, you're using C# 5.0, and most people aren't paying any attention to that. But it's actually, I feel like it's holding you back. And when you see the comparisons I'm going to show you between the types of code you can do with some of the new features up through version 7.3, it's kind of exciting. It's made a lot of things easier and faster for me, that's for sure. So we're also going to show off how quickly, once you get it working, DNN QuickSight can spool you up a new website. No, I've already got it. So we're going to call this DNN 13-demo. Often I get messed up when that dot's not there. Make sure that dot's there.
Mhm.
I'm sure other people have run into that, right? And local defaults, and boom, there's DNN getting plastered into place.
It's funny. I never really talk about this anymore, but while you're waiting for that to go, that is a great tool that is open source and free out there. So feel free to use it, but it'll save you a crap load of time setting up DNN multiple times. I mean, I use this multiple times every day, it seems like. So
Yeah, especially when you're testing stuff and you want a blank environment to prove whether or not something's a bug, for example. I can get there this fast. Doesn't seem as fast when I know you guys are all staring at me and we're recording a video, but in general.
And somebody explained to me why there is no progress indicator when you click on what is deemed as an unsafe site that doesn't have a
Oh no,
SSL ticket. There's nothing in the
I
browser to let
feel
you
like
know.
that's something they missed out on.
Yeah, me too.
Doing this the cheating way here. My website's fine, all that's fine. Continue. I love how much faster this is nowadays than it used to be.
Oh yeah.
I remember going and getting coffee 4 or 5 years ago when this part came up.
That on my machine takes 8 seconds generally.
I'm not on a fast machine right now.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like, but I mean, your point is saying it's like it's vastly faster than it used to be. Uh, how was it for you time wise before DNN 9.11? I think is when it sped up.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It was a couple of stages after we did the teller stuff.
So it was like 2 minutes or so, or
Yeah.
a minute, a little less than
This
2
even
minutes.
seems a little slow to me right now, but I
Probably
freely
the
admit
first.
I have about 400 tabs open.
It's probably more browser memory there than anything else, probably.
But the key thing I wanted to do is show people to get to a nice default DNN state so you can see the install of this module because it's not obvious. And here we go. So another couple of background things, if you guys aren't aware, the C# you're using is an older version, and it's specifically C# 5 point something. It was released in August 2012 with, good night, thank you. It was released in August 2012 with .NET Framework 4.5. So that's 11 years.
Wow.
And quite a bit has changed since then. We can't get all the way to the most modern C#. The highest we can get is C# 7.3 that was it's the last one that's compatible with the .NET framework. After that, they jumped to 8, and it's all .NET Core and other things. So we're not going to talk about that or worry about that right now. It's also interesting to point out that C# 6 came out in July of 2015 with .NET Framework 4.6. And I wanted to look it up. I did not get to, but I do remember that there is a reason that DNN does not auto install this CodeDOM. Does one of you know what the technical reason was? It was a breaking change if we installed it, but I forget where it was.
Yes. That package includes a exe file, and some hosting providers will block it from installing, thus blocking the whole DNN installation.
You have told me that before, but it doesn't stick. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
And
Okay.
it was a specific hosting provider, which I mean, so in the NN10, it might just come pre-installed, probably.
I
We're
highly
debating.
recommend it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
So when you're in here, the normal extensions window, no, I'm not installing anything. It's already there. So you switch to available extensions, and it's sitting here under libraries, and it's called Microsoft CodeDOM.NET Compiler. And what it's going to do is install, you can look it up yourself, it's called Roslyn. It's installing the compiler so that when you write your code in things like Razor and other places, and you hit save, the next time the page loads, it detects that the file's not compiled, runs it through this compiler, and that's how you get C# 7.3 features. If I were to go right now without installing this, and I'm not going to, and go try and use one of the things I'm going to show you called string interpolation, it would not work. You would throw an error. And it's happened to us recently. I've taken some of my modern projects, and we have a client who has an internet running on DNN 8, and it's internal, and there's nothing we can do about it. But I wanted to move one of my projects back to it, and all of a sudden I tripped over all the times I've used newer features because I could not get CodeDOM that high on their machine, and they didn't even want to install anything anyhow. So one time I ran into a situation where it kind of caused me some backwards rewrites, which wasn't that long ago, but it happened. So now we've done it. It's installed. You can't see or tell any difference, but that's how you do it. And again, it's in extensions, available extensions, and libraries. And that's the guy. Once it's done, your code, let me show you, how do I do this? I'll just do a new file. And what's the magic secret for demo? I gotta make sure. I don't know if you guys do this, but I switched to just the plain HTML C#. Otherwise, you get some weird stuff with the ASP.NET Razor formatting. So the first one we're going to go to was a feature that was introduced in C#6.
Just so you know, Jeremy, there is a way that you could leverage a web config file in that folder right there if you'd like to be able to handle the Razor stuff.
I don't need it right now. I'm not going to show anything except put some code on screen like this, talk about it, and then show you the better way.
Jeremy, could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
You mentioned that there was a problem of having this feature by default. Does the same problem arise the way that you installed it as a module there, or whatever, a library? If you had that particular web host, would you break things?
To be honest, I don't know.
Yes, it would prevent the file from getting copied in the bin folder.
Yeah. They would stop the install. The install would fail.
Yeah.
Well, but it would just not install the module.
Yeah.
And then
it
you'd be in a
wouldn't break your
broken
site.
state.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I don't think the site would be in a broken state. It just wouldn't succeed in installing the
Yeah.
module. Whereas if it was installed by default, the exe would be there, and it would render the whole site not useful.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it's just not a good idea. But the compatibility at this point is almost universal. I mean, you're not going to find another module that has a problem with it. Everything's nicely backwards compatible, and you just get to do the new stuff. So the first one was in C#6, so around 2015 stuff, and you get this null conditional operator, and this code probably looks pretty normal to everybody here. You get a class, and you're probably spent most of your life doing these tests ahead of time. Is it null? And if it's not null, this will fall over. And now I can do person.name. So now I'm checking if name is null, and then I can return person.name.length. Well, in C#6, when you can do these null conditional operators, you get to write it like that. And it's so elegant, it's so obvious that you get used to writing things this way. And I can honestly tell you, this would take me 5 minutes to do with some thinking and rethinking and testing. And mine would probably have 2 different if statements or something. I don't know. But when I do this, I'm in and done faster. And by the way, the double basically means this all resulted in null. So I got nothing for you. So instead, I'm going to give you a 0. So in other words, the alternate return here of 0. Think about how terse that is. So there's 2 advantages. It's less code, it's readable. And then the other advantage that I think is really important is I can write this in one go as I'm thinking. This one causes me a lot of thinking. So all programmers are different. I'm probably a little slower than some of the others, but I like the new stuff and I end up using these a lot. And I will also mention, because I don't have an example in front of me, it has made my life with LINQ so much better, because you run into those situations where you have a pretty complex LINQ statement with a couple of levels to it, and something down in there has thrown a null or object reference or something, and it's pretty hard to spot. When you're using these, it gives you a lot more forgiveness when you're hitting on properties that unexpectedly might end up null if you're using dynamic or something like that. So hopefully that one looks interesting. The next one is probably my go-to favorite all the time thing. You're probably all familiar with the, what did I do? I pasted the wrong one. How did that happen? Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay, so this one is string interpolation. And I mean, I don't go a day without using this anymore. So in the old days, let me close that up. In the old days, you spent your time doing string.format, and when you wanted to insert stuff, you did these, and they were always sequentially numbered. And then you threw variables in afterwards, knowing the order they were going into your string, which is nice. I used to use them a lot 10, 15 years ago. Now, again, being much more readable, you simply put a $sign in front of your first quote, and now you can do these. These are just variables. You can put whole one-line expressions and statements in here, whatever is the result of your variable, your method call, whatever, as long as it's a string, it's going to replace in that place. And it's much more logical, much more easy to work through. It's much better to write. I'll actually show you an example right now.
And then if you're jumping back and forth between this and TypeScript, you get confused all the time on the syntax.
Exactly. Yeah, because both JavaScript and TypeScript give you this almost exactly, right?
Almost.
So,
Yep.
so
Python does too.
Yeah. What does Python?
Yeah, Python does it.
Okay. So here's a quick example of, I just wanted to emphasize, I'm using this every day, all the time. So here is a project where I had to work to get these summaries. I'm pulling from a Harvest API to do hours per client, so don't look at that too closely. And then at first, I was having some problems and I was using DNN caching, and some of them were ending up slow. And so I needed to build some timers. And to do that, I will turn back on my debugging and show you actually what happens. So right now I'm refreshing the page, hitting true. The Roslyn compiler is compiling my 7.3 code. And here's what's about to appear on screen. Where did it go? Oh, wow, I'm using them all over the place. There I am building an on-the-fly quick link to a page with string interpolation, tab ID cheat in DNN, and just going straight to a page ID.
Nice.
Let me get to the right one. There we go. So I wanted to point out how readable these are. So if debug's on, append to my string builder, $sign, the year, and you name your variable as well. There's your text. So year started at stopwatch, which I started at the top of the thing, as elapsed milliseconds with an MS after it. And you can see right here, there's that output. So I got all of these summaries and hitting an API down to a few milliseconds, and they get even faster when I refresh because there's multiple levels of caching and DNN being done. Look at that. We just dropped from 11 and 20 milliseconds down to 2 milliseconds. These guys see that? But that's not really the point, and I'm not going to demo DNN caching and stuff, but doing these in a way that you can read it, I can come back here a year from now and I can see exactly what that's trying to do and say. So string interpolations, one of my main go-tos. Another one that's all over the place is, here we go. See these right here? That's called, what's the actual name? Wow, do you see that? Auto property initializers is what they're called. So you're just defining properties inside your class, but you can initialize them with a value immediately. And again, that's something I end up using all the time. So let's get rid of this. And just to show you, here's what it would look like before. So you would have to set these up just like you normally would. And then inside of here, as you go into your class, you define the properties on the fly. But with auto property initializers, look how much cleaner that looks. More readable, everything about it's better. And let's do that one. I'm basically only going through there's like something like 20 something features across 6.0 to 7.3. I'm only going to show you 4 or 5 of my favorites. Not so much favorites, just things that have saved me time and I use all the time. Yeah, I'll show this one. This one I don't use as much, but for some people, the copy and paste. You'd think I'd know how to copy and paste by now, huh? So expression, expression body members. So you've got a class and your properties and methods. So here's public double circumference, get, return. Watch what happens when you do the nice versions. This will make more sense. I just call it using pointers. But instead of defining everything out like this, you just point to the function and you immediately know what your return's going to be, what's been passed in, and you're done. You move on. It's absolutely fantastic once you get used to doing this. This one without the parentheses is a property. This one with the parens is your method. But the pointer just immediately spells it out as a function. So, and all these things, by the way, are in JavaScript too. So if you've been jealous of JavaScript features, you're going to get quite a few of the good ones when you do this. I'll skip that one because I've almost never used it. This one's great, but I'm not sure you guys have use cases for it. I have a couple of use cases where it's become really important actually to make the code even readable. I have a manufacturing client, where I just have a ton of data to sift through. So I'm always making these on the fly little grouped sets of information that I don't want defined as classes and properties. So tuples are the answer. So the old way is one of a few different ways is to make your own class and pass classes around. And this is an example of that. So if you get to do it with tuples, it's going to look like this. And I think you may or may not agree, but I definitely feel that it's much more readable. So now everyone see what's going on there. You're literally on the fly building this kind of object, which has both a name and an age. And you get to use it just by calling it. And notice I've got the string interpolation here, and I'm just taking the person info.name and age, and it's all defined on the fly. Functions. Yeah, I'm still going to skip that one, but those are the main ones. String interpolation I use all the time. What else do we have as examples? Here. No, we're not going to do that. More string interpolation, even with URLs. Oh, that one's actually interesting. Oh, don't do that. You guys can still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. That's a bit of a cheat right there, but the URL I'm throwing at the Harvest API to get back my hours. I'm using string interpolations to put the dates in their format. And that's a kind of a nice example. So, all right, well, that's most of it. Does anyone have any questions?
So do you use this mostly in the context of Razor files in
Too Sexy Views, Razor. I also have a tendency to still do stuff in the app code folder. I'll actually have a few .cs library files in there that every time I update them, they compile on the fly, and I'll get my C# there. So anywhere that you know that you're hitting save, and when the file date time is changed and ASP.NET's going to recompile it, you get these features. So there's a lot of neat places in DNN where that works. Even other toys, like what was the one from DNN Sharp they used to do that you used to be able to compile some Razor stuff into? Was it tokens? So even they would pick it up because the compiler just works for everything that it gets thrown at it.
And Too Sexy now has support for typed stuff. Could be a nice combination with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the typed stuff. I've finally got a few things in place that are working with it, and it's so much nicer. The idea of dynamic and magic everything was good, but it doesn't work very well once you write a lot of code and things get complex, get lost. I like having everything typed. All right, well, and there's a few of our projects. Luckily, you can't tell what my client names are here.
I'll leave it there long enough. We'll screenshot it and watch the video. We'll figure it out one way or another. No.
Yeah, it's nothing interesting.
No, it's really cool, Jeremy, because I feel like this is one of those subject areas that I mean is not talked about much, and it's been there for years. And I
Yeah, and
know
who's
most
the
people
who's
just
the
forget about
person
it.
who built it? Is it Brian? What's his name?
Brian Dukes.
Yeah, is he the guy that actually did that? That built the CodeDOM thing?
I don't know, but I could look it up here.
Maybe
and
I've just
figure it
accidentally
out.
credited the wrong person, but whoever did it, I've always wanted to thank. It's I think it's benefited me greatly.
That would be fun to figure out real quick. Let's see. There's a quick way to do that on GitHub. Let's do.
You're actually going to go figure it out. I didn't mean to make you do
Yeah.
that.
No, that's actually kind of a cool question. That would be a nice trivia question for Ryan's DNN trivia thing or whatever. That would be cool. And you guys could get the answer here and then participate in the game and win. Let's see here.
Oh, I did skip one that I use all the time. Out variables on things like try parse is another one that is really important. Do I have one on the page here? There we go. I have one on the page that's in front of me. So this out result makes the way you write your code a lot easier because you can define the result ahead of time, give it a default value, do your try parse. You can even do it like a void and ignore the true false, and the out is going to end up with either the default value or whatever you tried to parse, and it's so much more logical. So I really like out variables, and those showed up around C# 7.1 or 7.0.
So I just looked it up for you now. So the history of DNN on GitHub, goes back to, I mean, technically 7.4.4 was on GitHub, maybe 7.0. Whatever. Brian Dix was the first commit after GitHub in 2015, in December of 2015, but I think that tells me he probably didn't do the original because 2015 wouldn't have been when that was implemented. That would have probably been implemented a little before.
Then I feel like he participated or did one of the newest versions or did the update.
Oh yeah, he's done quite a few
Yes.
updates over the years. Yeah.
That being said, I don't think it's something that we coded. Like it's a package that's available.
Oh, it's
Just
really
distributed.
it's just Roslyn zipped up. It's really
Yeah.
what it is, and there's a DLL that you
Yeah.
can get and download. So it's really just been maintaining that. So
And Microsoft does have a newer version, but it doesn't get you beyond 7.3. I think you get a little more performance out of Roslyn and something else.
Yeah, there's a limit of how far we can go with the C# version due to .NET Framework version.
Mhm.
All right,
We
and
cannot get latest stuff that's made for .NET Core, let's say.
I'm currently sitting here fidgeting with my DNN NV quick lib.
Oh, you know, it's funny. You get a lot of compliments on those. They're very practical, aren't they?
They're very useful. I like the one.
Absolutely.
I have two of them. One's on my fridge.
Yep. And they can hold a pad.
Chips and all kinds of things.
I like them. They're strong enough to hold a pad on the fridge.
Yep.
If anybody doesn't have any of those and wants some, let me know and I'll ship you some. 'Cause I got
You have a
plenty
lot,
left over.
really?
I have quite a few left over, yeah.
Next time we cross paths in Pennsylvania, I'll have to get some from you.
All right, sounds good. I'll just ship some out to you. That's easy peasy. No, I think this is actually really good because you're right. I mean, just string interpolation alone would really help, especially for those of you that are doing a lot of too sexy work. That could
Right.
definitely
And-
help with the readability and quickness of some of these things that would take much more code to handle.
And also the one, I like the one that was mentioned while I was talking before, the switching between JavaScript has made things much easier for me because they're so similar. Did I read somewhere, there's a guy from Microsoft who helped in a big way with C# is on the JavaScript, you know, things now making the new versions of JavaScript. So there's a
Oh,
lot of, I believe there's an overlap between the
The
two.
maintainers of TypeScript
Yeah.
are developers that used to work on the C# language.
That sounds like what I read. Right?
Mm.
Here, since it's sitting on screen, I'm going to show you one other thing that I hope to turn into something I can share. So this client spent, I don't know, 3 years with the home page loading this video. And the video is not running now because I got sick of it and turned it off. So they contacted me recently and said, we want to do something different. And we actually built for them this set of cards. And because we did it with too sexy and content types, I wanted to show you a very cool little feature. So there's the cards. They're all down here. Each one's editable, whatever I just said. But I can change the template now. I'll get rid of the default. I'll go with the second one we built. We've only built 2 templates so far. There's the same information in a whole new homepage template. And I just changed it in seconds. And we're also building it in so that you can schedule the changes of the individual cards, the template, and all this is in Too Sexy. And this was one of the most fun things I've worked on in the last at least 7-8 months. The only thing that's killing me is I started it before I switched to Razor type. So that's been frustrating. I wanted to use Razor type stuff and I didn't get to.
So what are you doing? You got a template and then you're using partials and just switching between the partials on the template or what?
No, I'm not going to show you what I'm doing because I think it's embarrassing. Okay, I'll show you what I'm doing. You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
It's not what you're thinking. I have tokens and I'm doing replacements. And I'm only doing that once. I'm caching the results.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's really nice. The client likes this, you know, they can, we've even done the templates so that in the future, there can be a template with only one card and take up the whole screen. And you'll notice when I switched these, the height can vary. The templates can do almost anything they want. Watch the height change, height usage will change. See? And anyhow, you can change the order. You can tell which of the 3 at the top are in the usable slots. So I still need to make a template that only uses 2 or 1 or 4. And I'll get there. Fun
Good
stuff.
Yeah, really cool. Appreciate you taking the time to share this because I do believe that fills a void and something that just hasn't been talked about enough. I mean, I don't even think it's documented in DNN docs. So there's an opportunity for you, Jeremy, to, in your copious and free spare time, find somewhere to put that in DNN docs.
I think I will, but I got to get DNN docs to compile for me again. I think I did it once recently.
That project needs quite a bit of love. I'll tell you that. It's got a game plan, but it has not not been executed. Maybe tomorrow during the co-coding session, I'll do a little bit there. Yeah. Join us. Okay, so that's a good segue. So Jeremy, thanks for thanks, round of applause. Thanks for presenting that.
Thanks for listening. I thought as I was talking about this very boring code stuff, people would be dropping off. Thank you to everyone who did not drop off.
No,
I did not drop off on audio.
Yeah, we were more worried about you getting in an accident.
Well, you guys almost had a deer in the video.
Oh yeah.
Yes, a deer
Oh.
crossed the street just in front of me.
Oh no. Oh.
Yep.
Daniel, while you're talking, why don't you go ahead and announce tomorrow's co-coding session, just in case anybody wants to join us.
Yes, that. So we are doing co-coding sessions. We used to do it on the weekends, and we got some feedback that people are busy and this and that. So we're trying different things. So now we're on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern, which should cover like the foreseeable world, like it's evening in Europe and it's Friday afternoon here. So
So you can't go
join us.
party and have dinner. If you're in Europe, you have to wait for the co-coding session and then go.
Exactly. And you party on the weekend.
There you go.
And you don't have to be a developer, coming out, have a drink. It's a general chit chat, and we're trying to advance some open source projects at the same time. No
Yeah, so
agenda.
like several people joined that aren't really sharing anything. Some people has joined and shared what they're working on. There will be multiple streams going on at the same time, and you can choose which one to look at. I usually like to look at Daniel's screen so I can make fun of what he's doing, and he likes to look at mine and make fun of what I'm doing. And then Steve joins us a lot, and when he stays awake, no, I'm just kidding. No, actually, he's done some cool stuff recently too on it, but it's really good to have people there from different perspectives and things like that. Because I mean, sometimes I believe it was you, Steve. It was either you or Jeremy or something. One time we were working on something, and you're like, I don't really know what you're doing, but do you really need that carrot character there or that whatever it was? And ended up being the fix to something. So it's really, really good to collaborate and hang out.
Just can't remember if it was Steve or Steve's cat who fixed that.
That's
Probably my cat, I'm sure.
I'll also add that it's really interesting to watch other people work and see their tools and how they use them, because
That's true.
every time I watch anyone in VS Code, I'm like, what extension's that?
Mhm.
And you learn something new and you at least get a chance to try it out. It might not fit into your workflow, but man, especially, I mean, compliments to both Daniel and David. I have learned a lot the times that I've shown up and stared at the screen, and I try not to interrupt them when I know they have a train of thought and stuff. But otherwise, it's pretty amazing. David, I think, is the one who showed me one of my favorites, which was the I use it in PowerShell all the time, that multicolor, multi-level prompt thing.
Oh yeah.
And I just picked up on it again because I used to use it years ago, and then I saw you were using it. I'm like, David, tell me what it's called, because I can't remember and I can't find it anymore. Got my answer.
That's cool. Somebody that's been joining recently who, those of you that are on Discord, I'm going to probably botch up his pronunciation of his name, but I think it's Gerard Smith.
Yeah.
He's been working on a really interesting project that is related to DNN. It's not really a DNN, community initiative per se, but he's doing some really cool stuff. And I've been watching a little bit of what he's doing. He's been showing up and streaming. He's actually taking .NET .NET Nuke and actually making it work in .NET Core through some really interesting
I've picked up,
ways
and
of doing
you can
things.
correct me, is he's leaving the database mostly alone the same, and he's rebuilding code parts. Is that what I've seen?
Yeah, and I think he's
Yeah.
trying to keep parity throughout the
Hmm.
process. I don't know a whole lot about the project, so don't take this as an endorsement or anything like that. It's just I thought it was really cool because that's like he's in the bowels of things, like he's above my pay grade, what he's working on. So I'm just like, it's kind of cool to see somebody like that.
And I don't know what the long-term goal is there, but one of the perks we get is that he needs to create abstractions over implementations we have, like for module settings and this and that we don't have interfaces over, like user info doesn't have an interface that's complete. So instead of doing this in a silo, we actually submitting those pull requests to our repository on DNN. So we might have even more dependency injection stuff available for testing, and it's pretty cool, no
And
matter how the
really nice.
project ends up panning out.
Yeah, really cool. So encourage everybody to, join if you can. If you can't, then, yeah, maybe you can next time. I think you're going to stick with this time frame for a while, Daniel, or what?
Yes, we'll
Okay.
see what the feedback is, and but for now, like it's the slot for now.
Yeah, cool.
Hmm.
I will tell you this, and I guess this is okay for me to say at this point, because there's a lot of stuff for DNN 10 that's been on the wish list to do, but there's a few things that kind of the smaller group has said, yeah, we definitely need these things or whatever for DNN 10. And one of those big question marks has been the kind of a new look and feel for DNN. And we just recently went through a round of design and got kind of buy-in from the core people. But I'm not planning on showing that. I just want to put a little teaser out there and just say that there may be a new look for DNN 10 coming in. So that's kind of fun and exciting. It's nice to have a visual appeal for DNN whenever there's a major release. So, but that being said, don't worry. We're not introducing a new persona bar or whatever, it's going to upset the world again. It's not that. It's really just a new look and feel for the theme, so that we can replace Xylocon. What did you say it was?
Thanks for reminding me of that.
Silent.
Cillian.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because honestly, it's been fine for years, but it's not, like stellar from a design standpoint or anything like that, but it does represent a lot of the features and stuff that you can do in DNN from a theming standpoint, but it's on Bootstrap 3. So
Yeah, under the hood, it is
quite
not.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people, unfortunately are trying to use that. And it's like, it's in the Stone Ages, as far as technology goes. Kudos to the Access team that actually developed it there. But, it's kind of, it's done its time, so it's time for an update. So looking forward to doing a new theme that's going to be framework independent. So, it'll just be something that can live longer if it needs to for that. So it'd be great. I think that's all I had, unless anybody has anything that would be worthy of mention here before we wrap up. Going once, going twice. Nice to see you, Marco. Going 3 times. Sold to the man in blue. Jim, you're a winner. Winner, chicken dinner. Enjoy that dinner, and we'll see everybody next month. Oh, next month. By the way, if anybody is interested in presenting, we do have an open slot for November the 16th, I believe, is what the third Thursday is. And if that date doesn't work for you and another one does, let us know. We might be able to shift things around. Now, we do have in the US, we'll have Thanksgiving holidays that following Thursday, so we probably wouldn't shift to that one, but there's some flexibility there. But if anybody's interested, please do let us know. We're always looking for good content. All right, well, take care, everybody. Hope you enjoy.
Great.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Thanks,
for all
Jeremy.
this.
Thanks, Jeremy, for presenting.